Hey guys, welcome back to Susan Shares. Hey Steve.
Morning.
Got my favorite guest. And look, no beard. He really is a new guest. Everybody's told him he looks so much younger. I love him with a beard and without a beard, so it looks great either way. But anyway, glad to have you. We were on the road with Lainey last week, so I did not do a Susan Shares, but we had a fabulous time, didn't we?
We did.
We were groupies.
A lot of fun. Road dogs, as Jake would say. We were
right.
road dogs.
Road dogs, and it was quite the experience and a wonderful one. So we were thrilled to be with Lainey for Nashville, at the Ryman, St. Louis, and Kansas City. So it was great. But today, what we want to talk to you about on Susan Shares is I had been asked to speak to a group of ladies at a conference on what it means to be an influencer. And what a great topic, because we're all actually, what I discovered in my own personal life with talking to Steve, speaking with the women, is actually we're all influencers. One way or the other, both positive and negative, I'm afraid. Yeah. But we are all influencers one way or the other. And so really the question becomes, what is your sphere of influence? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And Jesus, of course, is our model to go by, because he, of course, was no respecter of persons at all, which is such a great model for us. I mean, no respecter at all of persons, don't you think?
Right.
Didn't ever change his behavior, no matter who he was with. No one intimidated Jesus, so therefore he didn't change anything about himself. He had all emotions, just like we do. Still didn't change how he had a vision, a mission given to him by the will of the Father. He always did the will of the Father. So he had a mission, and he stuck to that. He was very consistent with his purpose on earth as a human. He was both human and he was both divine,
right.
And so perfect he was. We're not perfect. I'm not saying that, but he gave us a model to be treat people the same, and for us to be the same wherever we are. We're consistent in our character wherever we are.
Mm-hmm.
So you can expect the same behavior from us, and the attitude, whoever we're with, wherever we are, that kind of thing. And that's a big influence on people. And you never know the influence that you're going to be. It's a ripple effect, and it goes on and on, wouldn't you say? And so a lot of people think, well, I'm not an influence on anybody. Yes, you are. And just writing down, I had the women, I gave them an index card, just writing down just who they are in people's life, whether it's a co-worker, or if they're single, if they're a neighbor, or if they're a babysitter, or if they're a wife, or if they're a grandmother, or if they're a writer, or a speaker, or a friend, or a professional woman, or if they're a stay-at-home mom, or all of those things that they are in someone else's life, and how they've affected. And you had an illustration from Scripture that was really powerful. You want to share that?
Oh, about the woman with
Yes.
the alabaster jar. Well, we celebrated Easter a couple of weeks ago, and in the 2 or 3 days prior to Jesus, being arrested, he spent time with friends, and he was one evening having dinner outside of Jerusalem, probably with his disciples and some other followers. But a woman comes in, it says, with an alabaster jar or flask or box that's full of fragrant, expensive oil. Scripture says it's worth a year's salary is how much it cost. And so it's probably the most precious thing this lady owned. And she broke that flask, couldn't put it back in there again, and poured it onto Jesus' head. And those sitting around the table and in the house became a little indignant about why couldn't we have sold that and used that money to do different things with? And Jesus quickly corrected them and said, you really don't know what you're talking about. And kind of, by the way, people are going to talk about what she's done for me forever or throughout the generations. And so it was really just her deep love for Jesus and trying to follow him and reverence him and bless him that was the outgrowth of that extravagant gift. And so what may have seemed like a very straightforward thing for her looked like a very costly, wasteful thing to other people, but it's influenced people for generations and probably till the end of time. That's recorded in Scripture.
We're still talking about it.
Even this morning. So
yes.
Yeah. So, and so sphere of influence, you may think you don't have much of one. You may not have a lot of close people to you, but even how you interact at the coffee shop or at the checkout line at a store or wherever else, you can potentially have an influence on people. And like Susan said, either in a good way or in a not so good way. So be aware of who you are and how you're responding to things, and be purposeful too. Then when you have a very close association with someone or some people, some group, to be very thoughtful and purposeful about how you're going to conduct yourself.
Yes, I gave the example of, Steve said a checkout counter, and I gave the example at the conference about at the checkout counter, even wherever you are, at Walmart, wherever, if something goes awry, and there's a long line and something's really going bad, as are we, so are they. So we can be irritated and, just and complain and everything and look back, and so is everybody else. Or we can really change, the course of the line from complaint to, and have a very pleasant attitude. So are we, so are they, so much of the time. I mean, we can be a huge influence on a lot of people, and that we don't even know, but in that moment. But even greater sphere of influence, of course, are those that are close to us, and what is our legacy going to be. And this woman with the alabaster flask, like we said, we're still talking about her today. She had a huge influence, especially on Jesus. She has total abandon love for Jesus and gave everything that she had, and it is still talked about even today. So it is a huge, people are watching when you don't even know they're watching. So what is your sphere of influence? It's a good question, and it's a good thing to contemplate. So I hope this was a good discussion for all of you to hear. It was certainly good as I researched before I spoke, and thought it would be beneficial to everyone. So thanks for sharing that story.
My pleasure.
Okay. Y'all have a great day. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.